Alright everybody, today I'm going to show you part 2 of solving rational equations. By the way, before that, I would just like to give you a small update. The small update when it comes to finding the function, never mind, bukas na lang. So yan, so our mission for today is to answer number 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Although hindi siya makikita, pero what you is okay lang. Can you see the problem? Yeah, I will just dictate you na lang the problem para you will not write it, okay? So in our first problem, we have 9 divided by 3v minus 6, the quantity, plus v minus 4 divided by v plus 4 is equivalent to negative 12 squared divided by 3v squared plus 6v minus 24. Now, this is a very tricky equation. Normally, dapat I was supposed to ink that using ball pen. But since I don't have the specific color, I just use pencil na lang. Pero just what I told you, the formula is still the same. You know already what to do. What is the first thing that you need to do if you want to solve for rational equations? Find the LCD. In this case, what do you think is the LCD in this situation? Look at our denominators. We have 3v minus 6, v plus 4, and 3v squared plus 6v minus 24. So what do you think is the LCD in this situation? The LCD is, of course, you can multiply all the terms together, pero you need to factor the quadratic. How do you factor the quadratic? You can do either synthetic division or long division. So let's do the synthetic division. So looking at 3v plus 6v minus 24, let's do the math. In our synthetic division, remember we have the numbers. We have 3v squared plus 6v minus 24, right? So if we were to do long division, let's say we want to do v minus 4. Diba, that's our LCD, v plus 4. So we need to divide the middle term. So what's 6v divided by v? 3v squared divided by v is just 3v. Diba? Never mind, if you want, you can watch long division using polynomials soon. Basahin na naman, that's 3v. Diba? You remember v plus 4. So you're gonna have to divide both of the terms. 3v minus 6, so that's 3v. Diba? 3v times 3 is 3v. Diba? And then 4, wala tayong magagawa sa 4. Actually, I did watch this video before, but I'm not so sure how this works. Pero okay lang yan. I think what you is, I'll just do that another time. Maybe I'm not in the mood to do long division. So you know already what to do synthetic division, diba? So we have here v plus 4 equals 0. Solve for the inverse of the linear equation. Remember, you can only do synthetic division if your equation is if you have a binomial. Like v plus 4 equals 0, that's linear. So therefore, that's very easy for you to solve for the linear. And then you know already what to do, right? We have the negative. We have the answer here, our k. And then we input the values. This is 3. This is positive 6. This is negative 24. Bring down number 3. Then multiply, then add. 3 times negative 4, that's negative 12. Then put down underneath negative 6. Then add. 6 plus negative 12, that's negative 6. Then the negative 6 times 4 becomes positive 24. 0. So tama. And then this is the constant. And this is the variable. So therefore, we have 3v minus 6 and v plus 4. So is that our LCD? Let's multiply to double check. 6 times 4 is 24. 4 times 3v is 12v. v times negative 6 is negative 6v. And 3v squared. Yan. Now add them all up. 3v squared, 6v, 12 minus 6 is 6, plus 24. So tama, that is our LCD. So therefore, what's our LCD? That's 4 times negative 6 pala. So watch out for your negatives. That's negative 24. So that's negative 24. So we got the right answer. So what is our LCD here? Our LCD is 3v minus 6 times v plus 4. That is the binomial or the LCD. Now let's solve for the following. Now we multiply all the fractions with the LCD, which is 3v minus 6 times v plus 4. Doing that, we have 9 times this one multiplied by our LCD. We have to multiply to all the terms. And take note, in this situation, so 9, the 3v minus 6 cancels. So you're just left with v plus 4 plus 9 times 9. In v minus 4, divide by v plus 4. The v plus 4 is cancelled. So therefore, you're just left with v minus 4 times 3v minus 6 na lang. And on the right hand side, the 3v minus 6 is in the 3 plus 4. Also, I was supposed to show you, pero since I ran out of space, so I just cancel it na lang. But if I were to write it in expanded form, it will go like this. Negative 12 squared is 144. So times 3v minus 6 and v plus 4, and then divide by this entire quantity here, which also is the same meaning of 3v minus 6 times v plus 4. That is just 1. So you're just left with 144 on the right side. Now we can apply distribution of property. So 9 times v, 9v. 9 times 4 is 36. 3v times v is 3v squared. Negative 6 times v is negative 6v. Negative 4 times 3v is negative 12v. 6 times 4, but both negatives, that's positive 24. Now we combine like terms. Negative 6v and negative 12 make negative 18. Then you can still combine if you like. Although, to be honest, the polynomials are jumbled up. So we need to write that in descending order with the variable. So we start first with the highest exponent, which is 3v squared. Diba? And then we get the variable, which is negative 18 plus 9. And that's negative 9v. And then all the constants. 36 plus 24 is 60. It's equivalent to 144. Pero teka, diba remember we ended up with a quadratic equation? So what we do here? Set it equal to 0. So subtracting 144 on both sides, we move it to the other side. We get 3v squared minus 9v minus 84 is equivalent to 0. Hey, did you know if we have something like this, you can just multiply 3 and negative 84 together so that you can solve for, and then what two numbers that you can multiply together that add to give you the sum of the product of 8 times c, and that add to give you negative 9. Pero since we know that they're big numbers, we need to think that if we can factor this out with the GCF. And can we factor this out? Yes, we can. What do you think is the GCF in this situation? The GCF is 3. Because 3 divided by 3 is 0, 1. Negative 9 divided by 3 is 3. And negative 84 divided by 3 is negative 28. So we're just left with v squared minus 3v minus 28 equals 0. And 0 divided by 3 is just 0. Nothing affects it, right? That's why it's always important to set your denominator, set everything equal to 0, so that it will be easier for you to solve. Now, we have v squared minus 3v minus 28 equals 0. So now we have to factor it again to solve for one of the v's. How do we do that? Remember what did I tell you before? Your goal is to set everything equal to 0. Right? So remember you put 2 parentheses here. So you put 2 parentheses equals 0. V. What two numbers that you can multiply together to give you 28 and then add to give you 3? 7 and 4 make 3. Pair which one? We want the negative, so therefore 4 has to be positive. So double check using multiplication again. V minus 7, v plus 4. This becomes positive negative 28. Then 4 times v, 4v. Negative 7v. And this becomes v squared. Add this up all together, negative 3, v negative 28. So that's our answer. So therefore, those are the values. V minus 7 and v plus 4. So we need to solve for each. V plus 7, v minus 7 equals 0. Add 7 to both sides. We get v equals positive 7. On the other hand, v plus 4 equals 0. Subtract 4. Therefore, v must be negative 4. In this situation, we have two answers. But we're not yet done. You know why? Because it's always our duty to double check on the equation to see if we end up with any extraneous values. Because I can sense in the problem here that we are supposed to have one extraneous answer. Because look, if we put negative 4 into the value, diba? That's negative 4, diba? Negative 4 and negative 4 plus positive 4, the denominator equals to 0, which makes the function undefined. So therefore, yung negative 4, it's automatically extraneous. So negative 4 is not an applicable solution for this situation or for that problem. So what do we do in this case? We have to try the other, which is positive 7. Which is positive 7. Let's see if positive 7 works. To double check, ito yung double checking ko. So I try to check that 9 and then 7. 3 times 7 is 21. Minus 6 is 15. And then plus v minus 4 and v plus 4. 7 minus 4 is 3. 3 plus 4 is 11. Then we apply the LCDs. Our LCD of 5, 15, and 11 is 165. Why? Because there's no way in how we can factor these two numbers. They're both in their prime, so we got no choice but to multiply both of them to get 165. And we know that 165 is the LCD. 15 times what gives you 165? That's 11. So whatever you do to the denominator, you also do it to the numerator so that the fraction is equal. So 9 times 11 is 99. 11 times what gives you 165? We know it's 15. So therefore, if we multiply 15 by 11 to get 165, therefore on the numerator, 3 times 15 gives you 144. So that's 144 out of 65. That is the answer on this side of the equation. But on the right side, we have to double check din if we will still get 144 over 165. Let's double check. First, we know that 144 is correct. That's already the answer. Tama. But let's try the denominator. 7 squared is 49. 49 times 3 is 147. 6 times 7 is 42. 147 plus 42 equals 189. Now, 189 minus 24, moment of truth. Did we get 165? Yes. So therefore, 7 is a valid solution to the problem. So therefore, the value of v in number 6 is 7. Although it can be negative 4, but take note you can't use negative 4, otherwise this will make the function undefined. However, I tried, and it goes like this. Negative 4 times negative 6, that's supposed to be negative 12, that's negative 6, negative 18. And then negative 4 minus 4 is negative 8. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. And then on the right side, we have negative 4 squared, which gives you 16, times 2 to give you positive 48. 6 times negative 4 gives you negative 24. Minus 24 to give you negative 48. And 48 minus 48 is just 0. It's still equivalent to each other. That's the good news. The bad news is, our denominator is equivalent to 0. So therefore, this is not a valid solution. That's why nilagay ko to x, diba? Ibig sabihin, extraneous. So hindi pwede to. Hindi pwede ang positive 4, ang negative 4 dito sa solution na to. Get it? Kaya that's why nga to some students, the more lesson, kasi nga diba, remember, they think na talaga, they hate rational equations. That's why every time they solve for the value of x, they say, ay, salamat sa Diyos, tapos na. Pero hindi pa kayo, mga bobo kayo. Alam mo bakit? Kasi nga, you have to double check to verify if you have an extraneous solution. Such that, what are the two extraneous values that I told you in the previous video about finding the domain and range? Such that number 1 condition, your denominator should not be equivalent to 0. Pangalawa, your square root should not be a negative number. If that were the situation, then that can be considered extraneous. Gets? Kaya huwag ka na maging bobo, ha? Maging matalino na kayo. Mga buwisit kayo. Sige nga, tara na sa next problem. Okay, number 7, we have this problem. We have w plus 5 divided by 3w plus 7 subtracted by negative 23 times negative 2 cubed. O yan, di ba remember, sometimes this might trick you. We have negative 2 cubed. Di ba remember, we have a negative base raised to the cube. You have to get the negative base. If it were squared, negative 2 times 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. It's positive 4, not negative 4. Because 2 times 2 is 4, and negative times negative is positive. Diba? Take note, they have to be identical even though they are the same numbers. Dapat same sign pa rin. And then times 2 times 23, which is divided by 3w squared minus 23w minus 70. And the answer is equivalent to 9 divided by w minus 10. First of all, let's find out what the LCD is. Do you know what the LCD here is in this problem? If your LCD is 3w plus 7 times w minus 10, you are correct. But you know how? Let's find out. First, we need to factor out 3w squared minus 23w minus 70 first. Or you can just simply multiply the two binomials together. 3w plus 7, and w minus 10. Here's how I do it. Ito yung solution sheet na ginawa ko. So, applying multiplication, ito yung ginawa ko. So, ito yun. Ang negative 10 times 7 equals negative 70. Remember, don't forget your negatives, okay? Huwag ka magdilito sa negative na yan. Negative 10 times positive 3 is negative 30w. W times 7 is 7w. W times 3w is 3, and just add another w. Applying to laws of exponents, 1 plus 1w, w raised to the first power is just w squared. Now add. Bring down 3w squared and bring down 70. Then add the negative 30 and 7. You get negative 23. Is that right? Yes. So therefore, that is our LCD. So confirm na ba our LCD is w plus 10 times 3w plus 7? Yes, it's correct. Now, we multiply everything by the LCD, which is what I've done here. So in this situation, the 3w minus 7, they cancel out. And then we are still left with w minus 10 plus times w plus 5. In this side, di ba remember that? But we're supposed to multiply w minus 10 times this one, divide by this one. But since thanks to division and they're congruent, we need to divide that because that evens out. So what you're just left na lang is that negative 23 times negative 2 raised to the third power times 2. And you know, negative 2 raised to the cube is negative 8. 8 times 2 is negative 16. Just like that. And then multiplied by negative 23. Because look at our operation here. This is subtraction. Nakita mo tong negative na to? This implies subtraction. Okay? And take note, this negative is distributed to the 23. And to the entire group. Gets? That negative 23 is taken all together for the entire group. Okay, that's why tinatawag to negative 23. It is being distributed to all the members in the group. But they are all products. So therefore, no need to worry about that. Okay? Although this might trick you, pero you will get it. Okay? Basta huwag kayo malilito kasi nga that is subtracting polynomials. If you have subtracting polynomials, you can just distribute the negative and change everything to its opposite in the subtrahend. Like for example, remember I told you if you have negative 2 minus negative 5, you know that if you were to subtract it together, you're supposed to get positive 3. But I know in my old school, they said, convert all negatives to positive. So therefore, that's negative 2 plus 5 equals 3. Tama? So yan, if you have two negatives, i-distribute mo yung negative. It's just that you need to distribute. You just imagine you have a negative 1 here, and negative 1 times negative 5, 1 times 5 is 5, negative times negative is positive 5. So yan, gets? So that's what happens at the center stage. Now, for the last one, our denominator is w minus 10. So we multiplied it by our LCD. The w minus 10s are gone. And now what we're just left is the 9 times 3w plus 7. Now let's apply the distributive property of multiplication. Applying FOIL, w times w is w squared, negative 10w plus 5w, negative 50. So negative 10 plus 5, that's 5w. Negative 23 times 16, that's supposed to be, 368. Let me write that down and see if we get it right. 23, 16, 8, 4, 6 times 2 is 12 plus 4, 168. 18, 138. Then 23. 8, 6, 3. Tama, negative 368. Positive 368. 9 times 3 is 27. Times 7 is 63. Now, we are left with this equation. What do we do now? Combine like terms. Right? So, that I told you kanina, negative 10 plus 5w is equivalent to 5w. Tapos, we have negative 50 plus 368. That's 318. And then, it's equivalent to 27w plus 63. Now, since we have a quadratic equation, what we do here, of course, you know the rules. We need to set it equal to 0. So, we need to subtract by 27w. So, negative 5w minus 27w to give you negative 32w. On the same time, we have negative 63 plus positive 63. And 318 minus 63, that's 255. 8 minus 3 is 5. 31 minus 6 is 225. So, w squared minus negative 32w plus 255 equals 0. So, now we can apply the quadratic formula or the X method. So, how do we do that? Unfoiling the game, we have here W. We think of what numbers that can multiply together to give you 255 and that add or subtract to give you negative 32. I know the products of 255, you have 17 and 15. But do they give you negative 32? Are they related? Yes. But what's the sign? Subtraction, diba? Because negative 17 times negative 15 is positive 255. But negative 17 plus negative 15 equals negative 32W. That's it. Diba? And now we were able to solve. But not yet. We're still not yet done. We need to solve for the values of W. So therefore, W can be either be 7, 17, or 15. Here's what I've double checked. Yan, di ba? And that's still correct. Now, this is what happened to you. W can be 17 or W can be 15. But let's check if one of them has the extraneous. That's why nga you thought kasi kung tapos ka na, sinabi mo tapos ka na, hindi ka pa tapos, mga tangero. Mag-check pa kayo, mga puta inga. Okay, so let's check our answer. 17 plus 5 equals 22. And then 3 times 17, 51 plus 7 is 58. Then we work this math. Diba, remember I got negative 368 a while ago? 17 squared is, ano yun? 289. 289 times 3, ito yun. 289 times 3 gives you 867. Ito rin yung sagot. Tapos on the right side, we have negative 23 times 17. That gives you negative 391. Minus 70. Just like that. Then you just apply the math. 867 minus 391. So yan, di ba remember this where you do the math, di ba? Nasaan kaya yun? Yan, 289 times 3 equals 867. Tapos, this one, I get negative 317, 391. And then you subtract it by 70. So I add that and I get negative 461. And 867 minus 461 equals 406. So tama, we get 406. So therefore, we have minus negative 368 over 406. Then, because we have both negatives, remember what I tell you kanina, kapag may dalawang negative, the negative here that you see here will be distributed to the negative here, which will convert it to become positive, di ba? So it becomes positive now. Now we find the LCD. What is the LCD? 58 and 406, we have 406. What two numbers that you can multiply together? And that's 7. Because 58 times 7, I try to check here, nasaan yung solution ko dito. $406. So tama, and that's supposed to be 154 over 406 plus 368. And now we add. We add the answer and we get 522 over 406. And then can we simplify that to its lowest terms? Let's simplify to the lowest terms that we can. Simplifying it, we divide both sides by 29 because we know that's divisible by 29. Diba? And we got 18 over 40. So ito na talaga yung ginawa ko. I divided them both and we should get this answer. Ito yun. Yan, di ba? So we should get this answer. 522 over 406. And then, when we simplify that further, we should get the answer of 18 over 14 divided by 29 on both sides. 18 over 14 is the same as 9 over 7. And teka, does that seem familiar to you? Because 9 divided by 17 minus 10 equals 7. And 9 divided by 7, yes, it makes sense. Correct. How about 15 naman? Let's try. This becomes 20, 52, and then we apply LCD. 15 squared is 225 times 2 equals 675, right? 675, just like that. And then 23 times 15, that's negative 345. Diba? So ito yun. Ito yung ginawa ko. Negative 23 times 45 times 15. 15, and then, diba, remember? Tama, 345. And then, where's that pa? Then minus 70. 75, we subtract that, 330 minus 70, 260. So tama, we got the LCD. Now now we get 260. And 52 to 260, we multiply how many to give you 52 times what to give you 260? The answer is 5 times. 52 times 2 is 104. Times 3 is 156. Times 4 is 208. So times 5, 260. And you have 100 plus 368, 468. Dividing both sides by 26, you get 18 over 10. And 18 over 10 is the same as 9 over 5, or 1 and 4/5. So tama. Di ba remember kanina we were supposed to get 1 and 4/5, di ba? On the other hand, we have this. 9 divided by 15 divided by minus 10. 15 minus 10 is 9 over 5. And 9 over 5 is the same as 1 and 1/5. 1 and 4/5. And you still got the exact answer. So therefore, the answer is correct. Both correct. 17 and 15 are both correct answers. Very good. Next, we have number 8. For number 8, this is a very complexified problem. We have k divided by 3k minus 8 subtracted by 37k minus 120. Ayan, di ba remember natin kanina, sa number 7, everything on the numerator are all multipliers. So therefore, we don't need to distribute anything. Not like in this situation, since they're being added or subtracted, therefore we need to apply distribution. 37k minus 120 divided by 9k, negative 9k squared plus 24k is equivalent to k minus 20 divided by negative 3k. This is a bit tricky, but good luck if you can solve for the answer. Now, what do you think is the LCD in this situation? First, let's multiply the two monomials together or just factor out the big one. So if I were to factor out negative 9k, what do you think the answer could be? Kung finactor out ko yung negative 9k, anong dapat yung sagot? So let's work this out. Get your pen. So, di ba remember, negative 9k squared plus 24k. We can factor out the k's because the k's are identical. So factoring out the k's, we have negative 9k plus 24. Tama? Are we done? Let's double check first. K times negative 9k is negative 9k squared. Correct. K times 24k equals 24k. Like 24 karat magic in the air. Heads down so blur. Come on now. Oh, baka ba naman magkanta na tayo dahil kay Bruno Mars dahil sa 24k magic na yan. Puta na kayo. Pero hindi tayo makakanta ha. Mag-work na tayo, mga bobo kayo. Sige nga. Any more that we can factor? Is there anything else that we can factor in this situation? Meron pa ba? Okay, look at the two numbers. Can we factor this out? Can we factor any further? Yes, we can factor out the numbers. Like 9 and 24, what is the GCF? 3. So we can simply factor out a 3. Factoring out 3, so we're 3k. And then we have negative k plus 24. I meant plus 8. Diba? Pero teka, look at our denominator here. We have 3k minus 8 and negative 3k. Do you think we can also factor out a negative to make it equal? Let's try. Let's divide both sides by negative 1. Dividing both sides by negative 1, we get, diba remember, that's supposed to be negative 3k, diba? Negative 3k. Negative k, negative 1, just assume you have negative 1 here. Negative 1 divided by 1 is negative divided by negative is k. What is positive 8 divided by negative 1? It's negative 8. So therefore, that is our LCD. Our LCD is negative 3k times k minus 8. So let's double check to distribute, to verify if these are true. Negative 3k times k, that is negative times positive, it's negative. So negative 9. Ay, o nga pala, wait. That's 3k pala. Kasi po, diba remember, we factored out negative 9. So, dapat that's supposed to be positive 3k. So, positive 3k pala to. And then, we need to factor out negative 1. So that it can be negative. Diba? So, that's supposed to be negative 3k pala. Negative 3k plus 8. So, 3k times 3k is 9k squared. Negative times positive is negative. So, for students, be very careful with numbers. Okay? And negative 3k times negative 8 is positive 24k. Correct. So is that our LCD? Yes, that's our LCD. So our LCD is negative 3k times 3k minus 8. Yun nga yung sinunod ko dito. Now we multiply every fraction by the LCD. For this 3k minus 8 stuff, the 3k minus 8 cancels. And then for the negative 37k plus 1 minus 120, that's supposed to be, this cancels out the negative 9k squared plus 24k. Ayoko na talaga makita yung 24k ni Bruno Mars. Walang kwenta. Kung nakita ko yan, magkanta na naman tayo. E di gano'n na lang. Alam ko na, kung mag-commercial break tayo, e di tugtog na lang tayo yung 24k magic na yan para masaya na kayo, mag-party na kayo, mga bobo kayo. Sige nga, next. And then we have k minus 20 divided by negative 3k. So what we do to that part? They cancel out the 3k's. Now we've already reduced all the denominators and eliminated them. Now let's simplify whatever needs to be simplified. So negative 3k times k is negative 3k squared. Tapos, di ba remember, in the center, it's negative. So, di ba remember, it's a negative binomial. So, you have to distribute the binomial to both situations. So, this negative, this one up that you see on the numerator side is a group. So, therefore, we need to distribute the negative to both sides of the quantity or group. So, that's negative 37k. So, that 37k becomes negative 37k. And that negative 120 becomes positive 120. So, yan, applying the distributive property. Diba? So, yan. So, we distribute negative. That becomes negative 37k. Negative times negative is positive. So, just assume you have negative 1 there. Okay? And then, on the right-hand side, we have 3k minus 8. Diba, remember ito yung cross multiplication ko? Negative 8 times negative 20 equals positive 160. Negative 20 times 3k equals negative 60k. K times negative 8, that's negative 8k. K times 3k, 3k squared. Now add 3k squared, negative 68k, plus 160. So yan. And now we are already stuck in this type of equation. Negative 3k squared minus 37k. Diba remember, distribute tayo, diba? We distributed the negative to both sides of the equation. Kaya ang positive 37k ay naging negative because it's a group. Diba remember last time sa number 3, diba remember that negative 12? Paano if I were to have 12 plus 1? Of course, that'll be negative 12 minus negative 1 because we're distributing the negative. That's what, in this one, we have multiplication. Unless I put some sums there, but I didn't put any sums there in that situation. So you're very lucky in that number 7 problem. Okay? And then we have negative 7k, negative 37k, then plus 120. Is equivalent to 3k squared minus 68k plus 160. Now we can isolate the variables. So we need to add 3k to both sides so that we can make this equal to 0. So adding 3k, we're supposed to get 3k squared, 6k squared. And then negative 37 plus 37k, this one's 0. On the right hand side, negative 68 plus 37 equals positive 31. Apply subtraction. 8 minus 7 is 1. 6 minus 3 is 31. 120 is cancelled and 160 minus 120 is 40. Now, we apply the factoring method. Remember what two numbers that you can get? And since our A is not equivalent to 1, what do we do to the two numbers? A and C? We multiply them together. So 40 times 6 equals 240. Now, what two numbers that you can multiply together to give you positive 240 and add to give you negative 31? We know that's 15 and 16 to solve the puzzle. Because 15 times 16 is 240. Diba? 15 times 10, 150. 11, 165. 12, 180. 13, 195. 210, 225, 240. Diba? And then, 16. But, they are supposed to be negative so that they can add up to negative 31. 15 and 16 are coherent numbers to the sum of 31. Pero what should be the sign? Both negative. Because negative 15 plus negative 16 equals negative 31. On the other hand, negative times negative equals positive. Now we wrote something like this. K plus or minus 16, and then K plus or minus 15. But since we have very big numbers, we need to factor them more. So we need to factor out 16. Factoring 16 can give you 8 and 2. So 8 here and 2K. Because remember, we need to get 6K. So therefore, we need to have two numbers that we can multiply together, the K's together, to give you 6K. And that's 3 and 2. Actually, you can do 4 and 4. The only problem is 4 is not a multiplier like factor of 6. So dapat we need to think of factors of 6. And that is 3 and 2. So we put 8 here. And can we divide that by our factors of 6, which is 2? Yes, we can. So that becomes 16 divided by 2 is 8. And then we put 2K here. On the other hand, our 15, diba, remember 15 can be factored out by 5. Diba? 5 times 3. 5 and 3. Tama. Now let's double check. Doing multiplication method, let's see if it works. Diba, remember we multiplied the numbers together. Let's try it again to see if it makes sense. 3K minus 8. 2K minus 5. Let's see if we get the 6K squared minus 31K plus 40. Multiplying these together, you get positive 40. Negative times negative is positive. Negative 5 times 3K is negative 5K. That becomes negative, that's 15, diba? Negative 15. 2 times 8 is negative 16K. 2 times 3 is positive 6K. Adding them up together, we get, tama, that's the right answer, okay? Now, don't think we're done, because we need to double check if one of the values can be extraneous. Let's see. Before that, let's solve for each. So for 3K minus 8, we know it's 8 thirds. On the other hand, 2K minus 5, that's supposed to be 5 halves. Now going back to our original equation, we have 3K minus 8. We cannot plug in 8 thirds there. Automatic na yan. You know why? Because if we put one of the K's here, lalo na dito, sa K na to, ang 8 thirds, what is 3 divided by 3? Goodbye. 8 minus 8? 0! So therefore, hindi pwede ang 8 minus 3 8 over 3 dito. Otherwise, the function will become undefined, and furthermore, that is extraneous. So hindi pwede ang 8 thirds dito. Try the 2/5 na lang instead. Ang 2/5 ay pwede maging ang 5 halves ay pwede maging 2.5. Diba? Or 2.2. Diba? I tried 2 and 1/2. Or 2.5. Diba? Actually, ang ginawa ko dito, I use it in fraction form. Pero I would like to show it if I were to imply decimal form. So, ganito kasi yung mangyayari. Be right back, guys.